That smile in the attic photo? It was hiding our family's oldest lie. I'm up here again, in the attic where the heat sits heavy and the air tastes like old cardboard and cedar. The house is quiet in that way it only gets when the rest of the family has gone downstairs and you can hear your own thoughts bumping into the rafters. There's a box in front of me, shoebox size, wrapped in brown paper that's gone soft at the corners. If you've ever held a box like this, you know the feeling. It's lighter than you expect, but it carries more weight than it should. Inside are photographs, sun-dusted, finger-smudged, edges curled like they're trying to protect themselves. And I'm going to do something we didn't do back then. I'm going to tell the truth that those pictures have been holding in their little paper throats for decades. Because a photograph can be a blanket, or it can be a lid. And in our family, honey, we were experts at lids. So stay with me. In a few minutes, we'll open these attic albums together. We'll learn how to read what the camera caught by accident, the spacing between bodies, the stiffness in a hand, the person cropped out on purpose, and by the end, you'll understand the secret that sat behind our happy childhood like a shadow behind lace curtains. Have you ever looked at an old family photo and felt, watched by it? Like it knows something you don't? All right. Let me set this box on my knees. The cardboard is warm from the attic air. The tape lifts with a dry little sigh. And the first thing that hits me is the smell, paper, glue, a hint of perfume that shouldn't still be here. This is the part nobody tells you. Old photographs don't just show you faces. They show you atmospheres. They store emotional residue the way sweaters store smoke. And I can feel it already, before I even pick up the first one. Here it is. A thick stack tied with twine, the knot so tight it looks angry. My fingers hesitate, because my hands remember what my mouth spent years refusing to say. I untie the string. It snaps back like it's relieved. And on top is a black and white photograph, square and slightly glossy, the kind that reflects the attic light in a shy little flare. It's a porch. Summer. Somebody's hydrangeas blooming like they own the whole yard. 4 people posed in a neat line. My mother, Martha, is in the center holding a baby, my baby brother, Tommy, his cheeks round as biscuits. My father, Frank, is standing to her right with his hand on the porch post like he's bracing himself. And on the far left is me, age 7, in a dress with a hem my mother stitched the night before. We look like a postcard. But I can feel what that photo really is, a performance. Because there's space in that picture. Not empty porch space, human space. A gap wide enough for one more child. And we had one more child. His name was Eddie. Do you see why photographs are dangerous? They don't just show who's there. They announce who isn't. When people ask, how can you tell something was wrong? I tell them, look at the way the bodies lean. Look at the hands. Look at the distance people leave between themselves, like they're afraid the truth might be contagious. In this porch picture, my mother's smile is pinned on. My father's mouth is smiling, but his eyes are somewhere else, past the camera, past the yard, past us. Like he's listening for a sound he doesn't want to hear. And me? My shoulders are raised. Not like a happy child. Like a child trying to make herself smaller so nobody notices she's thinking. If you're wondering what happened to Eddie, honey, so was I. For years. We were told, he went to live with relatives. We were told, don't stir it up. We were told, that's grown folks' business. But the attic has a way of turning grown folks' business into everybody's business. Especially when the only witness left is paper. I slide the porch photo aside and find the second one. This one is color, faded into warm oranges and tired blues. A birthday party. A tablecloth with cherries on it. A cake with too many candles, because my mother always believed you could fix a hard life with extra sweetness. I can almost hear the room. The clink of forks, the murmur of adults trying to sound cheerful. A child squealing. Somebody laughing too loudly. And in the back, by the doorway, there's a shadow. Not a shadow from the sun. A person half captured, as if the photographer didn't mean to include them. A shoulder. Part of a face. A man's hand gripping the doorframe. That hand, it's my father's. And the way he's holding that frame, white knuckles, wrist tight, tells me he wasn't celebrating. He was surviving. What do you think a child learns, growing up inside celebrations that feel like storms? This is how it starts, the whisper from the attic. A pretty picture that doesn't match the feeling it leaves in your chest. So let's do it properly. Let's stop looking at these photographs like decorations. Let's treat them like evidence. I pick up a smaller photo, edges scalloped. 3 children on the front steps, me, my cousin June, and Eddie. There he is. My missing brother. He's 8 in this picture, maybe 9. Freckles. Hair too long because mother couldn't get him to sit still for a haircut. He's holding a toy airplane, but he's gripping it like it might fly away without him. June is leaning toward me, shoulder pressed to mine. But Eddie isn't leaning toward either of us. Eddie is angled outward, like he's already practicing how to leave. And his smile, honey, his smile is a fence. It's there, but it's built to keep you out. Here's the thing about family photos, people think they're about closeness. Half the time they're about distance you're not allowed to mention. I flip the photo over. My mother's handwriting, summer 58. The kids. Nothing about Eddie. Nothing special. Like he was just a passing weather pattern. Now, let me show you how a secret hides in plain sight. In the bottom corner, almost cropped out, there's a suitcase. Old-fashioned, hard-sided, with travel stickers. And a tag tied to the handle. A suitcase in a children's photo is never just a suitcase. Why was it there? Who was leaving? Who had already left in their mind? I didn't notice it when I was little. But I notice it now, because I know how adults move when they're preparing to do something they'll regret. They tidy. They label. They pack. They pose children on steps to prove everything is fine. Do you have a photo in your family where someone is smiling too hard, like they're trying to keep the world from cracking? I set that one down and lift another, a school play. The stage is a row of painted cardboard trees. I'm in costume, little red cape, crooked bow under my chin. My classmates are grinning, proud as anything. But my eyes in the picture are swollen, as if I'd been crying. And my wrist, my left wrist, has a faint dark mark. A bruise, half hidden by the cuff. The camera caught it because the flash doesn't care about manners. Now, I'm not going to dress this up. That bruise wasn't from falling out of a tree. It was from being grabbed. Not in rage, worse. In control. My father didn't hit us like in the movies. He didn't roar and swing. He did something quieter. He squeezed. He steered. He held too tight when he wanted you to understand what would happen if you embarrassed him. And what did we do? We smiled for pictures. Because in those years, you kept face for the neighbors. You kept your voice down. You didn't air dirty laundry. Some families don't break, they just bend children. I can hear my mother's voice even now. Stand up straight, Evelyn. Smile. Don't make trouble. So in that school play photo, I'm smiling. But my body is telling the truth. Shoulders tight. Fingers curled. Eyes begging the camera to hurry up. And Eddie, because yes, Eddie is in this one too, he's at the edge of the group, half cut off. Like the photographer didn't think he mattered. Like the family was already practicing how to erase him. You see how a photograph becomes a map. Center, edge, cropped, missing. It's all language. Now comes the part one still swallow hard to say. Eddie didn't go live with relatives. Eddie was sent away. Not because he was bad. Not because he didn't belong. Because something happened in our house that my parents decided would be easier to bury than to face. It was winter. A space heater. A quilt. A small fire that started fast and ended faster. Nobody died. But something did die that night, my parents' belief that our family could survive the truth. Eddie was blamed. Not officially. Not with papers. With looks. With silence. With my father's jaw set like a lock. And then one day, Eddie's bed was made too neatly. The suitcase was gone. My mother's eyes were red, but she told me it was allergies. Have you ever watched an adult lie and realized, even as a child, that the lie was heavier than the truth? I didn't understand the whole story then. I just understood the rule, don't ask. But photographs don't follow rules. They keep asking for you. I pull another picture from the stack. This one is a picnic, grass, paper plates, a checkered blanket. My mother is laughing at something off camera. My father is holding a soda bottle, eyes narrowed like he's measuring the moment. And there's a woman standing behind my mother, hand resting on her shoulder. It's Aunt June. But she looks different. Not the loud, bright June I remember. Her face is pale. Her coat is buttoned high even though it's clearly warm outside. Under that coat, she's hiding a belly. A hidden pregnancy. And the camera caught it anyway, like a polite little accusation. We didn't talk about June's sickness. We didn't talk about why she suddenly moved in with us for a while. We didn't talk about why my mother started sewing baby clothes again when Tommy was already walking. And then we didn't talk about the baby that appeared, and how everyone said, "Isn't it a blessing your mother is helping that poor girl?" But I remember the night I woke up thirsty and heard June crying in the kitchen, a sound like cloth tearing. My mother whispered, "You will not ruin your life." And June whispered back, "It's already ruined." The next morning, June's eyes were puffy. And there was a new rule, we don't mention the baby's father. Do you see why old photographs can make your stomach drop? Because they don't just show you what happened. They show you what was forbidden to name. Let me tell you something about those days, about the kind of families we came from. Silence wasn't emptiness. Silence was a tool. It kept roofs over heads. It kept reputations intact. It kept dinner on the table. It also kept children confused. When you grow up in a house where the truth is treated like a dangerous animal, you learn to tiptoe around your own feelings. You learn to doubt your eyes. You learn to call fear respect. And then you grow up and wonder why your chest tightens when someone raises their voice, even if they're just excited. That's what buried secrets do. They don't stay buried. They leak. They show up as anxiety, as loyalty conflicts, as the strange habit of apologizing for needing anything. I used to think I was just sensitive. That's what my father called it when I cried. Sensitive. Like it was a defect, like having a heart was an inconvenience. But now I look at these photos and I see the real problem. I wasn't too sensitive. I was living in a house where the weather changed without warning, and everybody pretended it was always sunny. Here, look at this one with me. It's Christmas morning. The tree is skinny. The ornaments are mismatched. My mother is sitting on the couch, hands folded in her lap, smiling the way women smile when they're exhausted but still determined to make magic. My father is holding the camera in this one, so he's not in the frame. And that matters, because it means the whole morning was arranged through his lens, his timing, his patience. Eddie is not here. Again. But there's something else, my mother's hand. Her ring finger is bare. No wedding band. Most people would miss it. But I don't. Because I remember a week when she took it off and put it in a dish by the sink. She said her finger was swollen. But she never put the ring back on after that. You want to know how a marriage can start ending? Not with a screaming fight. Sometimes it starts with a quiet, bare hand in a family photo. And when children notice that, but no one explains it, the children invent explanations. They decide it must be their fault. They decide love is something you can lose if you step wrong. Is it any wonder we grew up like little detectives, always searching faces for danger? Now, This is the before and after I promised you. Before I knew the truth, I looked at this next photo and thought it was sweet. It's my mother holding a newborn, swaddled tight, a little knit cap on the baby's head. Everyone is gathered around. My father is smiling. June is standing in the back, face turned slightly away. For years, I believed that baby was simply a cousin we helped raise. A family kindness. A tidy story. After I learned the truth, the whole photo changed. Because that baby was June's. And June didn't get to keep her. The baby was taken, adopted out quietly through a church friend, papers signed in a room that smelled like coffee and judgment. My mother called it the best thing. June called it the only thing they'd let me have. And suddenly, June's turned face in the photo isn't shyness. It's grief. It's survival. It's a woman trying not to fall apart in front of a camera that will outlive her. A photograph freezes time, but it can't thaw the pain. I didn't learn this until I was grown, with my own children and my own regret. I learned it when I found a letter in this very attic, June's handwriting, shaky and furious, folded into quarters like it was trying to disappear. She wrote, "Tell her someday I didn't forget. I just wasn't allowed to remember out loud." Honey, I sat on the attic floor and cried like a child. Because I realized our family wasn't just hiding secrets from the world. We were hiding them from ourselves. And Eddie? Eddie was the first sacrifice to that kind of silence. Not because he deserved it. Because the family needed someone to blame so the grown-ups could keep pretending they were good. If you're thinking, why didn't your mother fight back? I've asked myself that question in 100 different ways. But I also know what it was like for women then. Limited money. Limited choices. A world that handed men authority like it was their birthright. My mother did fight back, quietly. In the only ways she could. In food. In warmth. In staying up late to sew hems and fix tears so we looked respectable. In hiding certain letters where my father wouldn't find them. And yes, she hid Eddie's letters. Because Eddie wrote from wherever they sent him, and my father couldn't bear to see his name. My mother read them alone at the sink, water running so the sound would cover her crying. Then she tucked them away. For later, she told herself. Later never came. Until now. Until this attic. Until this box. All right. Let's slow down. If you're sitting at home right now, thinking about your own photo albums, I want you to give you something useful, not just my sorrow dressed up as a story. Because you can learn to read old photographs the way you read weathered letters. You look for patterns. You look for what repeats. You look for what's missing. Here are a few things I want you to notice when you look at your own, sun-dusted, pictures. First, the background. People stare at faces, but the background tells you what the family was really doing. In one of our photos, there's a doorway behind my father. The door is open, but there's a chain latch visible, dangling. That chain says more than any smile. It says, we lock things. It says, we keep people in, or out. Second, objects that don't belong. Like that suitcase on the steps. Like a car packed behind the group. Like a bottle held too tightly. Like a uniform hanging on a chair in the corner, reminding everyone who has power. Third, physical distance. In our family portrait, my mother's shoulder never quite touches my father's. Not fully. There's always a polite sliver of air, like a boundary line. Fourth, who gets centered? Who stands in the middle, lit by the camera flash like an altar? And who gets pushed to the edge, half cropped, half forgotten? Eddie was often at the edge. June too, once she became a problem. That's not an accident. That's a family making a quiet decision about belonging. Do you know what it does to a child, to be photographed like an afterthought? Fifth, repeated expressions. My father's smile looks the same in every photo, tight, controlled, as if he's holding his breath. My mother's smile changes. Sometimes it's real. Sometimes it's a shield. And children are the most honest, unless they've been trained not to be. In our photos, I'm often staring at my mother instead of the camera. Because my eyes were always checking, is she okay? Are we safe? Now let me show you something that still makes my throat close. This photo is a little Polaroid from the early 70s. The colors are weird, too much yellow, not enough blue. It's a backyard barbecue. Men in short-sleeve shirts. Women balancing paper plates. Kids running through sprinkler spray. In the far left corner, just barely captured, two women are standing close. Not friends close. Not family close. Close the way people stand when they're trying to borrow courage from each other. One of them is June. The other is a woman I don't recognize at first, hair pinned up, sunglasses, hand resting at June's lower back. Their faces are turned toward each other, and June's expression, honey, it's the softest I ever saw on her. Like for 1 second, she wasn't bracing for impact. And that is the part our family never wrote down, the hidden relationships. The abandoned dreams. The love that didn't fit the rules of the time. Nobody in my childhood talked about women loving women. They talked about roommates, about friends, about a phase, like love was a bad habit. But the photo doesn't lie. It just sits there, patient, until you're old enough to tell the truth without flinching. Now, intergenerational secrets, this is where the attic really starts to whisper. Because secrets don't die with the people who made them. They get passed down like heirlooms, wrapped in silence instead of tissue paper. My father's need for control didn't start with him. I found a photo of his father, my grandfather, standing in a yard with a belt in his hand, smiling like it was a joke. That belt is in the frame on purpose. Like a warning. Like a proud tradition. And suddenly I understood, my father wasn't inventing cruelty. He was repeating it, calling it discipline, calling it love, because nobody taught him another language. Does that excuse him? No. But it explains why our family photos feel like staged peace treaties. I keep turning pictures, slow as turning pages in a heavy Bible. And then, there it is. A photo of a teenage girl at a wedding. Big bouquet. Everyone dressed up. In the back row, near the edge, there's a young woman staring straight at the camera like she knows she shouldn't be there. Her cheekbones look like June's. Her mouth looks like my mother's. And she has Eddie's freckles. I didn't recognize her when I was younger. But I do now. That is the baby June lost, grown up, coming back like a ghost made solid. We called her a friend of a friend. We said she just stopped by. We gave her cake in polite conversation and sent her away with leftovers like she was a neighbor. Because we were a family trained to avoid the center of our own pain. My knees ache from sitting on the attic floor. I shift, and the box creaks like it's alive. The sunbeam has moved, and the dust motes are floating in a new direction, like even the air is rearranging itself around what I'm finally willing to say. Here's the payoff, honey. Here's the secret those photographs have been holding. Eddie didn't disappear because he was bad. Eddie was sent away, blamed, and then erased, so the family could keep smiling in pictures. And June's baby wasn't a blessing we helped with. She was a wound we bandaged with manners. When I look at these photographs now, I don't just see birthdays and porches and Christmas trees. I see a family practicing silence like a hymn. I see children learning to read moods instead of books. I see women swallowing grief so the neighbors wouldn't taste it. But I also see something else. I see my mother's hand on my shoulder in a picture when I was 10, gentle, protective, a quiet promise. I see Eddie's grin in the rare photo where he's truly laughing, head thrown back like the world hadn't taught him fear yet. I see June's softness in that corner of the Polaroid, a love that survived in spite of everybody's rules. Photographs are not just proof of events. They're proof of atmospheres. They record the weather inside a home. So here's what I want you to do after this video, if you can. Not in a frantic way. In a gentle way. Like opening a drawer you haven't opened in years. Find one old photograph. Hold it. Notice where your body reacts. Your throat. Your chest. Your stomach. Because your body remembers what your family never said. Ask yourself, who is missing? Who is cropped? Who is centered? Who looks like they're leaving? Who looks like they're pleading? And if you discover something, if you feel that whisper from your own attic, please hear me, you're not betraying your family by telling the truth. You're rescuing the child who had to live inside the lie. The past doesn't ask permission. It waits to be seen. Now, I know some of you are thinking, but what good does it do, bringing all this up? It does good because silence breeds shame, and shame breeds loneliness. But truth can be shared. Truth can be carried together. I can't go back and change what happened to Eddie. I can't give June back the years she spent pretending she didn't ache. I can't soften every hard moment my father caused. But I can do this. I can stop letting the photographs be the only honest witnesses. I can speak. And maybe, if you speak too, some of that old heaviness can finally set down its bags. If this story stirred something in you, if it made you think of a shoebox in your own closet, please take a second to like this video. It helps more than you think, and it tells YouTube that quiet stories still matter. And if you enjoy these grandmother-style, emotional, nostalgic family stories, subscribe to Dust of Old Days so you can keep coming back with me, one memory at a time. And if you feel safe to share, tell me in the comments. What's the one photograph in your family that feels like it's hiding something? Because maybe the attic isn't just where we store old things. Maybe it's where we finally let the truth breathe.